Okay, so welcome everybody to this. It's sort of a meeting of carp bird watchers. It's not really a full normal meeting. It's more a chance for us to talk about the upcoming Carpinteria Christmas Bird Count. Um, I did have a couple of announcements I wanted to mention. I apologize. I don't have my usual folks. I don't have Tom and Laurel here to kind of help out, and it's a reminder to me how I take for granted all the great things they do for me. When they're not here to do it, there's more for me to do. Um, yeah, okay. Let's see. Okay, quick announcements. I wanted to mention that Nancy Barron had an article in the Coastal View, in last week's Coastal View, not the one that came out today, about the impact of rodenticides on local bird populations. This turns out to be a real issue, and it's a concern. Were you raising your hand? Oh, you were raising a glass. Okay. So I encourage people to check it out if you haven't read it. It's interesting. It's something to maybe be aware of as local advocates for birds. Uh, there are alternatives to rodenticides for those who want to try and keep rats and mice down in ways that don't also harm local bird populations. But I encourage you to read up on that. There's a link to it at carpbirdwatchers.org in the notes for this meeting. You can also just go to the Coastal View website, and they have an online version of that article. The other announcement is that this Saturday we will have our normal Carp Birdwatchers group outing. It will be at Santa Monica Creek at the end of El Caro Lane, the west end of El Caro Lane, where we have had a few outings in the past. I'm taking advantage of the fact that this is one of the areas that it's good to scout for the upcoming Christmas count, so we can combine our group outing with seeing if any cool birds are there at Santa Monica Creek to be found. So that's at 8 a.m. on Saturday. Again, there are details at carpbirdwatchers.org. So you can go look there if you want to come. It would be great. Okay, so again, this is a more informal meeting than normal. I'm encouraging people to turn on their video, to unmute themselves to the extent they want to participate. I'm basically just going to go over some of our plans for the upcoming Carpinteria Christmas Bird Count, and show some resources that participants in the count should be aware of, and just answer any questions people have. So before I jump into that, are there any sort of meta level questions? Do people have questions about the meeting itself or about just things in general other than the carp Christmas count? There's been some very good birds out there. It's been very good birding lately. So those of you who are out there looking for birds, I applaud you, especially if you're looking for birds in the carp CBC circle. Andrea says, I was given books in the past to offer to the birders who participate in the CBC without a group meeting. How can I get them out to the group? It's a good question. Like how many books are we talking about?
I don't know, 15, 20.
Oh, wow. It's a lot of books.
Wow.
Maybe raffle at the compilation event on the night of the Christmas count.
We
We may not
having
even have
an in-person meeting on the compilation night?
It's optionally in person. It's going to be in person and via Zoom. And we'll get to this, but I may as well just tell it now since it came up organically. So on count day, we will have two meetings. We'll have the midday sort of tally meeting where we kind of see what birds we don't have. And for a lot of people, that's kind of the end of their Christmas count experience. For the people who are so enthusiastic that they want to keep going in the afternoon, we use that information at the midday tally to determine where to go chase after birds in the afternoon. And then we will have an evening meeting at both online via Zoom. Both these meetings will be both online via Zoom and in person at the Carp Library meeting room on Carpinteria Avenue. So the Carpinteria Community Library, where we have our regular meetings. That's a cool place they have offered to let us use on count day, which is great. Not planning a big dinner or whatever for the evening meeting. If people want to bring treats, that's great. Certainly will not stop people from doing that, and we'll be happy to share any treats that are there. But mostly it's going to be just kind of, celebrating the day and going over the list of birds and seeing what our preliminary total species count is.
Can bring the books there then.
And you can bring the books there, and we can, as I say, we can raffle them off. We could say whoever got the best bird gets the first pick of the books. I don't know. Something, we'll come up with something. You should come up with something. As the provider of the books, I empower you to think of an appropriate way to get those books out.
Thanks a lot.
Unless you don't want to. We could ask Tom and Laurel to do it. They're not here, so we can put all kinds of tasks on them. Okay, so let me move on then to the actual meeting, the actual content of the meeting. So as I was saying in the pre-meetings that some of you heard already, the count is just over 3 weeks away. So this Saturday, it will be 3 weeks away. So we're getting there. We're coming up on the count, which is exciting. The link that I want to share with people. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to share my screen. So this will all make more sense once I have done that. And I have to make sure I share the right screen, which I think is this one. If not, we'll do it again, but I think it is. Okay. So you don't actually need to see this page. This is the page at carpbirdwatchers.org for this meeting. This is the aforementioned article by Nancy Barron, Help is on the Way for Wildlife, which is at the Coastal View website. And I encourage you to check that out. It's, you know, sort of depressing, but also, you know, we want to be aware of what's going on so we can take meaningful steps to make things better. This is the page I wanted to show you. So for those participating in the Carpinteria Christmas Bird Count, this is the web page that you want to keep in mind. Like if there's one web URL that you're going to memorize that's going to have, you know, all links to everything you need, it's carpbirdwatchers.org/CBC. And there is a link to that on the Carp Birdwatchers website. This is the Carpinteria Christmas Bird Count page at carpbirdwatchers.org. So if you go there, you will find, hopefully, again, all the information you need about this year's count. There is a prominent sign-up form. So I don't know if any of you here have not yet signed up, but are planning to participate in the count. If you are planning to participate in the count and you have not signed up, please go fill out the sign-up form, because that's how we get your contact info, and it just puts you in the pipeline for easier organizing. It's very helpful for me and Tom and Laurel as we put the assignments together. What else is on that page? There's a mention of this meeting, which all of you successfully reached, so you don't care about this. There's a mention of the mailing list specifically for the CBC. So if you want to sign up for that mailing list, this is a separate mailing list than the one for Carp Birdwatchers. And then at the bottom of this page is actually where the most useful part is probably. There's a series of links, and these are very useful. This is where I'll put a link to anything I think it is very important for you to have for the count. And I think before we jump into the important links, I'm going to go all the way down to the very bottom of the links and look at this, this last link, which is to a spreadsheet. This is the spreadsheet, the master spreadsheet that shows all the species data for all the carp CBC. So sometimes I get questions from people like, oh, have we seen snow goose before? Or how often have we seen this bird or that bird? You have access to all that information. If you follow that link, you will come to this spreadsheet. It has this summary, which shows the history of the count, how many species were reported each year, including last year when we had 168 species, woo, which was very exciting. I don't know how to replicate that. It probably won't happen this year because it was just kind of out of the blue. There were like all these crazy birds that people got. But, you know, fingers crossed, could happen. But if you go over to the taxonomic tab, this is a big grid that I live in for certain parts of the compilation process. It's a lot of numbers, but what this basically shows you is how many individual birds of each species have been reported for each Carpinteria Christmas bird count, dating all the way back to 2009, when the esteemed compiler emeritus, Rob Denholtz, who's in the meeting now, hello, Rob, was shouldering all of this himself. So it just looks like a big grid of numbers when you look at it this way, but I now have a much greater appreciation than I did prior to Rob handing the count organizing off to me, that there is a great deal of blood, sweat, and tears in these numbers. There's a lot of folks out in the field, a lot of organizing, a lot of compiling. But anyway, that information is all there, which is very interesting to me because I'm kind of nerdy that way. But let's move on to other stuff. What else do we have? Yeah, let's talk about just looking at last year's count. If you're specifically interested in that, there is a link to the trip report. So again, back at that carpbirdwatchers.org/CBC page at the links at the bottom, there is a link to the trip report for each of the last several counts. So this is an eBird feature that lets you collect a bunch of checklists, and you can go there and you can see what we had on the count last year. One cool feature is that it shows you lifers, which for this trip report, this is the Carp CBC eBird users trip report. So these are lifers for the Carp CBC user. So if you click on that, it'll show you the birds that were seen on last year's count that were new to that user. And that's almost the same as first time ever on the count. But the Carp CBC user did not previously have bald eagle, even though bald eagle was seen twice previously on the count. It just didn't happen to show up in the checklists that were part of the Carp CBC account. But now that we share all the checklists from the count with the Carp CBC user, this is basically showing you, with the exception of that bald eagle, these are all the new species we had on the count last year, which again was just kind of mind-blowing for me. Like, I would love to take credit for the fact that we got all these species we'd never had on the count before, but I don't think I really had much of anything to do with it. They were just, the birds were there and the birders were there and they happened to get them, and I applaud the birders who got them. But again, I don't know how to replicate that this year, but I'd certainly like to. Like some of these birds, I haven't seen a report of ancient murrelet during the time I've been actively birding in Carpinteria. I mean, in Santa Barbara County over the last like 5, 6, 7 years. Not an accessible one, at least. And we had 2 of them on the count last year. So it was a crazy count. Greater peewee, I never expected to see a greater peewee, but we had one on the count. Just showed up. Okay, anyway, onward, more cool stuff. What else do we have to talk about? Report, assignment. Oh, I will share this. So when you fill out that sign up form, which looks, in fact, I'll just show you. So some of you who have not signed up yet are shy, you can see what it's like. You just click on this link and it takes you to this form and you fill it out, and it's really easy. There's an additional page where we gather more info, but that's basically it. When you sign up via that form, your information gets dumped into a spreadsheet that I and Tom Beland and Laurel Luby use to do the assignments and the organizing. And when I was looking at that earlier today, I was like, oh, I feel like we don't have as many people signing up this year as we did last year, which is true. We have 35 people who have signed up so far this year. But last year, once I looked at it at this time, we only had 37 signed up, at a similar point in time prior to last year's count. And we ended up with, 59 signups and 61 actual participants in last year's count. So, I'm hopeful that we will get to a similar number this year and get those people showing up late as they're wont to do. But if you know anybody who might be interested in the count, please encourage them to go sign up now-ish so that we have more time to organize where we put people. What else can I show you that's useful? This is actually the really useful page. So if you go down again on this CBC page, down towards the bottom, there is a link to the 2024 Carpinteria CBC Detailed Participant Instructions. And that's not that, that's the trip report. That looks like this. And this is the page that's going to tell you how to do stuff on count day. So any questions you have should be answered here. Okay. So it's broken down into 3 sections. There's instructions for everyone, which is, everybody participating. You should know your assignment. You should coordinate with your group, and you should have fun. Those are the only requirements. So that should be doable. I mentioned in here, by the way, that if you have questions, you should contact me, and my contact information is here, except on count day. So on count day, I am relatively inaccessible because I am just, like most of you, I am running around looking for birds. So on count day, we are very fortunate that my lovely wife, Linda, who is in the meeting, and I would call her that even if she were not in the meeting. Maybe she's not in the meeting. So anyway, either way, she will be manning this number. And this is the Carp CBC hotline number. And it is a different number than we've used the last 2 years because I messed up and lost the old number to the Google Voice gods. So I had to get a new one. But there is the number. I encourage you to, put it in your phone, have it ready on count day. If you have a question on count day, call that number. And Linda will be the clearinghouse of, information. She can get, she'll get me if she needs a response from me, or she'll just tell you the answer if she knows the answer. But that is how you can communicate to the count officially on count day, is that number. Okay, so that's everybody, and that's all you need to know. If you are a group leader, there are some additional things you need to know. And a group leader is anybody who's submitting a checklist. So that's if you're if you're out birding on your own, you're a group leader. You're a leader of a group of one. But otherwise, if you're part of a larger group, one of you will be the designated group leader. That person does not have to keep the checklist, but that person is responsible for the checklist, making sure it's as accurate as you can manage and getting it in so that we have the information. Ideally, you will get your checklist or checklists, if you go to multiple spots, in using eBird and by sharing the checklist with the Carp CBC eBird user. If you do that, and if you can get that checklist submitted by noon-ish, you will get a gold star and possibly one of Andrea's books at the meeting that night. That really makes my life so much easier if you do that. If you really don't want to use eBird and you're not willing to learn between now and the count, like I will take the time to tutor anybody who wants to learn to use eBird on how to use eBird to submit their checklist. There are other approaches, and we talk about it here. You can call the hotline. You can tell Linda what birds you saw, and she will put it in. And as a last resort, you can print out the old style checklists and you can fill them out and send them in by various means. Part of my appreciation for all the blood, sweat, and tears that Rob endured during the early days of the count is that they were all paper checklists in those days. Yeah. And that's the stuff of nightmares. I'm sorry, it really is. Because, people are out in the field and they're scribbling and it's just like, oh, what is on this? I don't understand. So as a group leader, you're responsible for getting your checklists submitted. There's other documentation you need to get in. It's not as important, but there's your effort information. There's instructions here on how the group leaders can go fill out an online effort form. I will share my dirty secret. If you don't fill out the online effort form, I just fake it based on the effort information in your eBird checklists because life is too short. But if you can fill out that form, it's a little more accurate because then I'm not guessing about some of the details. And then rarity documentation. So at this point, I'm basically just piggybacking on eBird's rarity filters. If you're entering the bird in eBird and it says, oh, this is rare for here at this location in time. And eBird wants more documentation. I want more documentation. I really want people to basically just try to live up to the eBird review standard. So if you see a rarity, there's a link here, how to document your sightings that goes into detail about how to do that. If people want to talk about that, I'm happy to talk about that more. But in general, if you can get a photo, that's great. If not, if you can describe what you saw in enough detail for a, reviewer looking over your shoulder to say, yeah, they saw that bird. That's what you need to do. And so that's the second section. We had the instructions for everyone, instructions for the group leader. And now the instructions for the gung-ho types. I need a funnier term for those people, but these are the people who want to keep birding in the afternoon. So, or who want to do scouting before count day. Uh, I am in this category, and certainly I encourage as many of you as are willing to join us in this category. So you can scout before the count. You can go out and just bird in the Carpinteria count circle, Christmas count circle, anywhere you want, and share your eBird checklist with the Carp CBC eBird user, just like you would on count day. And that will get you added to a scouting trip report I'm going to set up. And that will let us all see where you got your good birds. The other thing you can do, if you're again very gung-ho, is you can use the shared real-time tally spreadsheet. And I'm just going to go over this really fast, but you can use this on your phone if you have the Google Sheets app installed on your phone. So you can do it while you're out there birding. So what this shows is a list of all the species we've ever had on the count, plus a few that we've never had on the count, but we knew they were there, So it's all the species that you potentially will get, except for the weird surprises, which are great, but are not on the sheet. And it is color-coded by rarity. So the white rows, and these are in taxonomic order. These are in the order that you see the birds in your field guide. So the white rows are birds that we have had on every single Carpinteria Christmas count since Rob started the count in 2009. So I'm not that concerned about scouting information for those. Hopefully we will get all of those on the count. And then, so that's category 1. Then there's category 2, which has been seen only once before on the count, I think, once or twice, I forget. They get increasingly rare as you go up into these darker shades of green. So you get to category 4. Category 4 is the one we've only seen once before on the count. And then category 5, we've never seen on the count. So during your scouting, if you want to do this, like I will be doing this for you if you share with that Carp CBC eBird user during your scouting effort. I will put the rarities in this spreadsheet, but you're welcome to do it yourself too. Anybody can edit these seen by and location columns. And what you're basically doing there is you're entering for any species that you see, you enter your name for seen by, so we know who to ask if we have questions about it, and where you saw it. Okay. And then what we do is the night before the count, I'm going to empty out the seen by column and just leave the location data. And then on count day, if we're trying to get on count day, we'll do the same thing over again, but starting from scratch. So on count day, one of the things Linda will be doing as she's manning the phones at the hotline and as she's receiving the incoming checklists that are being shared with the Carp CBC eBird user, is she's entering all the birds that are seen in this spreadsheet. So then what that lets us do is there are these 2 additional tabs. There's the seen tab, and here's a list of all the birds that have been seen by somebody. Now, right now it's during scouting, but on count day, it'll be just for the birds seen on count day. And they're sorted with the rarest birds first. So this is a cool way if you want to know, like, what rarities have we seen on the count, and you're out there in the field, you can just look at this spreadsheet on your phone and say, oh, this is what we have. And that will be the up-to-the-minute shared information that we all see. And then this other tab, the needs tab, are all the birds that we have not yet recorded in the spreadsheet. And it is sorted in the opposite order. So the most common species, the ones seen most frequently on the count, are sorted first. Now, I haven't been filling them in, so there's all these category 1 birds here, just because I've been lazy during scouting. But on count day, we'll be filling those in. And what will happen then is this tab will show us a list of the species we don't have yet with the easiest to get birds sorted first. So that's for the gung-ho types. In the afternoon, they can look at that and say, oh, we don't have a mallard? I'm going to go find a mallard. I mean, we will hopefully have many mallards by that point, but that's the idea. So in the afternoon, we can use this spreadsheet to coordinate that. This is one of those things that, I've been working with this spreadsheet for like 3 or 4 counts now, and it seems very obvious to me and straightforward. But then I hear myself talking and I realize, yeah, it seems obvious to me because I've been working with it for 4 years. For any normal person, it's like, What do you, what? So if you have questions, you are welcome to ask questions. Or if you have questions afterwards, you're welcome to ask questions afterwards. Um, but that's our spreadsheet. Okay. What else do I have to talk about? Just the timetable for count day. So start birding at sunrise, or as early as you're willing. Uh, last few years I've gone out before sunrise to try and get owls in Ramiro Canyon. Certainly if we have people willing to do pre-sunrise owling, that would be awesome. But is not required. But probably in the morning is when you should be doing your birding. Your core birding, your most important birding would be in the morning when the birdies are active and vocalizing and, get those birds in. Share those checklists hopefully by noon. If you want to participate in the midday get together, that will start officially at 12:30. Again, either at the Carp Library or online via Zoom. There will be a link on the detailed instructions page to the Zoom meeting if you want to do it via Zoom. And we'll have that meeting where we'll talk about what we've seen so far and especially what we have not seen so far. And then we will go out in the afternoon. And those of us who, can muster the energy to keep birding, we'll go out and we'll keep birding. And then we'll all get together, those of us who are still awake at, I think it's 6:30. I forget. Check the webpage for the official time. But sometime in the evening, we will have our evening compilation tally and we'll go through the birds that we saw and give each other high fives or virtual high fives if you're not at the library. And hopefully you out at Jameson Lake will have internet and we can see you. That was certainly a highlight for me at last year's compilation event, was seeing you guys drinking wine out at the cabin at Jameson Lake. That was pretty exciting. Yeah. All right. Thumbs up from Jenny and Craig. Excellent. Okay, so that was everything I had to talk about. So if people have questions, happy to talk about whatever questions we have. I'm going to stop my share so I can go back to seeing your lovely faces.
Hey, John, question.
Yes.
Are we able now to leverage the Steve Colwell's amazing bird view database? And is that helpful for the Christmas count in any way?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have access to it. It is, for all of Santa Barbara County. I don't believe he has bird view data for Ventura County, which is part of our circle, is Ventura County. But I could ask him about that, and he might be willing to add it if he, to set it up for that county if he hasn't already done that. Yeah, I confess I haven't used it as much as I should. I see Linus is saying in the chat that they're using bird view for the Santa Barbara CBC. And there is data for Ventura. Excellent. All right, thank you, Linus. So yeah, the answer is yes. I don't know the specifics, but I will be interested in following up with Linus and trying to figure out, what can we learn with bird view. Linus, by the way, since you're muted, I'm just going to talk about you and you can't stop me. Linus was sharing with me recently that after he did his big year, which we have a whole meeting on, Linus talking about his North American big year that he did. It just has transformed the way he birds. Like, he's very analytical now, and he will have like target species, and he will go in there knowing the specific species he's going after, which is potentially a really awesome way to approach a Christmas bird count. I suspect it is, in fact, why the Santa Barbara Christmas bird count has, routinely gotten over 200 species, dating back to the days when it was organized by Paul Lehman. The joke that Linus shared with me was something like, they approach preparations for their bird count the way armies approach going to war. It's just very detailed, very, very detailed, very organized, lots of advanced planning. We're a little more laissez-faire. We're a little more enjoying the birds, but still, there's a significant effort involved. And I will follow up with Linus and get more details about how we might use BirdView, the BirdView tool, to inform our preparations. Yeah, and he's even got a link there in the chat.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Miss Lucia from Santa Barbara. Since I live in Santa Barbara, and I know you have all these place names down in Carpinteria, and I do bird down there fairly often, but what I call a place and what you call a place might be something different. Is there any place to see the list or kind of a map of what you call your various locations. So if I'm even scouting or
Yeah.
I can tell you where I really was.
So if you're willing to, take the eBird challenge on and learn to use eBird, the eBird
You're saying,
hotspots.
okay, just use the eBird hotspots. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if you go back and look at our I mean, would this be useful? Like if you look at that, okay, I'm going to share my screen again.
But go back to past years.
Yeah, like
Okay.
if you look at the trip reports from a previous year, so find a good example of what I'm talking about. So so down at the bottom of the the CBC page at carpbirdwatchers.org, there's this eBird trip report for the 2023 count.
Mhm.
So I'm going to open that
Okay.
up. That's the thing we were looking at before, and you can see all these pins.
Right. Okay.
Like you could look at the checklist view, and it will show you the names of each of these locations.
Okay.
If you click through to that checklist, eventually it will show you, there's a hotspot for Seaside Gardens. You can
Okay.
click on this link and you can view it in the map, like where it actually is.
Yeah. Okay. That helps.
And you can also just ask me. We're doing a lot of chatting in Slack. So the Santa Barbara Birders Slack workspace that has a channel, CBC-Carpinteria. And
Okay.
so if you join that Slack resource, I don't remember if I've seen you in there or not, Lucia, but if you
Yeah, I'm in there. I don't look that often, but yeah, I'm in there.
yeah,
Okay.
so the CBC Carpinteria channel in Slack is a great place to ask any questions related to the Christmas count.
Okay. I just, if I see somebody just spectacular, I don't want to lead you all astray by, misnaming where I am.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of a part of the social media enabled birding experience that, you're dealing with people telling you what they saw. And it can be very frustrating when they're using terminology that they and the circle of people they, bird with know exactly what they mean when they say it, but
Yeah.
I don't know what they mean. I'm a big fan of GPS coordinates. Like, just don't tell me, oh, it's at the greenhouse by the big tree that we saw the robin. It's like, no. Just give me the coordinates. I'll put it in a map and I can find it that way.
Yeah, don't tell me you just saw it in the eucalyptus. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Dorothy, were you going to say something?
Yeah, John, I am such a newbie. And so this would be my first bird count. And I live on Sandpoint. So I don't know if it's possible to have folks on Sandpoint, both on the marsh and on the beach, to do the count, because I don't know if I would be accurate with my observations.
Yeah. So Rob, I saw, just raised his hand. So Rob, in his sign up, was indicating that he was interested in birding the carp salt marsh. Normally by now we would have assigned someone to that eastern part of the marsh to come in off the Estero Way entrance to the UC Reserve property. But haven't heard back yet from Guy Tingos, who normally has been doing that for the last few years. So Rob, I'm just giving you a heads up that I emailed Guy today. Hopefully we'll get that straightened out in the next few days and figure out who's going in there. But however that works out, if Rob, if you were interested in maybe going in on Sandpoint Road to Dorothy's place, she's basically.
Sure. That sounds good. I could
Hi,
do
Rob.
a moon watch. I could do a sea watch, bring the scope, spend a few hours.
That would be awesome.
Great.
And the view of the marsh the view into the marsh from that side on Sandpoint Road is, really useful to have. And we don't always get access. It's tricky to get access sometimes. So it's great that we have someone who's out there who's like, oh no, these people are my guests. They can come on out.
Oh yeah.
Dorothy, how do I get in touch with you?
dlargay@gmail.com.
LARGAY?
Uh-huh.
GAY at Gmail. Can I have
Awesome.
your phone number?
Rob, I'll share it after the meeting.
Okay.
This is going out on YouTube, and I don't want you to reveal your PII. So I'll share it after the meeting, and I'll send it to both of you.
And FYI, I think about 4 years ago, Tom and Laura came out to do what at the afternoon,
Mhm.
Catch up or whatever it's called. So we went out on the beach and they found some great stuff.
I think we got our only Dunlin for that count from your house. So yeah,
Oh.
that's really great. I mean, yeah, no, you may not have a lot of birding experience, but you have something even more valuable to us. You have access to this great location that we normally have to work really hard to get into. So,
Well,
uh,
I mean, I'm thrilled to offer that,
well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
except that I don't have
Yeah.
much to offer other than that.
Well, I think you're selling yourself short. I mean, we all are at different, we're all on somewhere on our birding journey. I get blown away by folks like Linus. I go birding with Linus and I'm like, how does he even see that bird, much less identify it? So, we've all got a lot to learn. We're all climbing the same ladder and it has a lot of rungs. It has more rungs than I ever realized. But yeah,
So
that's
would
great.
so would Rob be the eBird
Yeah, you don't
leader?
have to worry about submitting the checklist. Rob will, I assume, I'm speaking for Rob, but I mean, I assume Rob is
Sure.
comfortable submitting the checklist for Dorothy. Yeah.
And would it be helpful for me to invite some of our neighbors?
I'm going to leave that up to you. If they want to participate, that's great. Part of the Christmas count is it's a day to celebrate birds, and those who are, more experienced get to celebrate it in their way, and those who are less experienced get to enjoy it in their way. That's kind of, one of my goals, at least in trying to organize the Christmas count, is I want it to be maximally inclusive. So yes, the answer is always yes. If you've got someone who's not, maybe our Zoom bombers don't get an invite, but anyone short of that in terms of their,
This would be off screen.
yeah. No, yes, the answer is yes.
It's a good way to excite people and bring them into birding who hadn't been in before.
Yeah.
Rob, I'm
Yeah, I mean-
excited. This is great.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah, and I'll just share, my own experience as a birder definitely was altered by Rob organizing the carp count and inviting me to participate in it. And, I felt very, very privileged to be able to do that. And I learned a tremendous amount from doing it and really enjoyed myself.
I'm still
early
wearing
on.
my, you remember this t-shirt?
California.
I bought a bunch of these and sold them to people at the compilation dinner for the first bird count.
Oh man, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, well, I don't want to take up people's time. Is there other count related questions?
Yeah, John, can I talk with you when this is done?
Sure. We can stick around after and chat further. Other count related stuff? Going once?
I can show the bird view thing if you want.
Yeah, that would be really interesting if you could do that to see. Do you have the ability to share your screen? I'm gonna make you a co-host.
Can share your screen. Then nothing embarrassing on my end.
I'd rather wait. You're saying you don't want to share your screen?
Yeah, if you click the link I sent and just share your screen.
Okay. Yeah, I can't be embarrassed. All right. This one. Okay. All right, so I'm looking at bird view at the link that you sent.
Yeah. This is what we're using for the Santa Barbara CBC. So it's within the exact count circle, has anything that bird view flags as rare, plus a list of target species that we've identified. So you can see the list of species that were observed. This is December 2023, and for this year we just put in December 2024.
Summertime.
Sort of all the good birds are listed on the right hand side, and then the coordinates they're plotted on the map in the middle.
So as I hover over the thing, I should be more familiar with bird view than I am. So as I hover over the species, it expands those circles on the map so I can see where they're showing up.
Yeah, and this will be updated could be updated pretty often. certainly for Santa Barbara County, and maybe also for Ventura County in December.
Now, does Birdview require you to look at just one county at a time? I suspect it does, right?
Yes and no. There's a version where you can do all of California at once.
Hmm.
It doesn't get updated super often, but I think if we ask Steve, he might be able to update Ventura more often.
Yeah. And I'll ask Steve about that, because that's I mean, ideally for us, it would show Santa Barbara and Ventura County simultaneously, because our circle, includes some area in both counties. How far back is this data going?
It's all the eBird data.
Oh, so it's just forever.
Well,
mean,
this search is
Throughout
limited
eBird.
to December 2023.
Oh, okay.
As an
So
example,
it's last year's count, basically.
like for the last year's count.
Yeah.
So and
Neat.
for the CBC, we would just put in December 2024, and things would pop up as they get recorded.
Gotcha. Neat. Okay, well, that is interesting, and I'm going to spend more time playing around with it. Thanks for showing it. Anything else you want to point out about it while I've got it here?
No, that's pretty much it. You can ask it to flag rare anything that's rare, plus you can give it your own target list if you have species that you're not sure you're going to get on your count. And then,
Okay.
yeah, you put in the circle coordinates and then show up like this.
Yeah, the difference with our case is that we're going to have a lot less data, because we have a smaller army of scouters inputting sightings. So it could still well be, very useful. I'm anticipating it's not going to be as much data as you have here.
It will have more data than just people that share their checklist with your scouting account.
Right. Because it's any eBird list.
Advantage, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's a good point. Okay. Anything else? Last call?
Are you
Last call
taking
for stuff?
more volunteers?
Volunteers for like
Should I
participating in
bring
the
along
count?
somebody without having them sign up with you?
Yeah, you can. People do.
I mean, we could have them sign up after if I don't find them right away.
Yeah, you absolutely can. I need to have the leader's information at least,
Yeah.
which would be you, and you're already in there. Ideally, everybody who participates would fill out the form. When I do the submission to the Audubon Society at the end of the process, one of the things they want is names of all the participants. So, if they fill out the form, I have that. It's easy. And if they don't fill out the form, then I've got to kind of scrounge for the data in multiple other places. And
I'll make them fill out the form.
thank you. Again, me of the future is thanking you for that. I realize it's more work for the participants, but it really saves me a lot of headache afterwards. Okay. One more last call? Nope. Okay, well then I'm going to stick around and chat with Rob and everyone else. Thanks for seeing you. Look forward to seeing you. If you're scouting, that's great. If not, I'll see your results on count day, and let's go have a great count.